Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Weekend Winners in association with BetVictor, your weekly go-to show to find you those big Saturday winners. And we have a real blend of action on this week's show because, of course, we have the rescheduled Newcastle card featuring the November handicap, and we also have Grade 1 action at Down Royal, plus plenty more races to go at. Now, I'm going to be looking at all of these races in the usual company of Declan Ricks and Sam Boswell. Dec, I trust you enjoyed Santorinita's action?
Yes, it was very good, but I suspect you enjoyed it more with the Nap and Next Best going in. So impressive versatility, I thought. The Nap was at the Breeders' Cup on dirt, and then the Next Best was a handicap chase at Ascot. So
is there anything
kudos.
Anything she can't do, Dec, eh?
Oh, the versatility is it. To be fair now, though, from what I do as my other parts of a job in here, I should really be able to call dirt races by now. But, Sam, you enjoyed it, though, did you, the Breeders' Cup?
Yeah, August Road Inn was a personal highlight, and I think, you know, very obvious highlight for everyone. And it was a really good couple of days, wasn't it? It just cements itself as that brilliant crescendo towards the end of the flat season. But we've still not quite there yet, and we'll touch on Newcastle in a bit.
Yes, exactly that. Like I say, we've got Newcastle then to come at us, Aintree as well. So we've got a real blend of action, though, but very well done to you for August Road, and a horse that was just given the best ride just from this season, really, wasn't it? So daring. Right, we will crack on with the action in due course. But before we do so, a reminder, as ever, to please do gamble responsibly. Our tips are not guaranteed to win, but we will still do our best to point you in the right direction all the same. Right, our first race comes from Newcastle on the all-weather. This is the November handicap for the 3-year-olds and over a mile 4 at 3:45. Of course, a different November handicap with this card moving from the turf at Doncaster to the all-weather at Newcastle. But, Dec, we still have a really competitive-looking field here. So what was your play?
Yeah, a really competitive race, a full field of 14 going where the first bend comes up quite quick, so a low draw can help. I wanted to be against Local Dynasty at the prices, to be honest. First time going up in trip to 12 furlongs. He's a really keen goer. I just thought he could be a horse that maybe doesn't stay. You know, this trip at the 12 furlong course at Newcastle is a pretty stiff test. To be fair to him, he has been gelded, so that could make a big difference to him. But I came down on Burras in the end for the Julie Camacho team. Graham Lee is gonna take the ride. A former French racer actually joined Dan Skelton in the team there to go jumping, but clearly hasn't taken to it. Maybe no surprise in some ways, but he's been in good form this season. I think since he's joined Julie Camacho, I think he's got form figures of 2-1-0-1, and last time out I thought he did very well to beat a progressive horse of the Gostons at Leicester over 10 furlongs. A little bit of a tactical race. He gave that a progressive 3-year-old a good head start, but he picked him up nicely, I thought, and he galloped out well. And I loved as well, he was brave taking a gap down the rail when it opened up for Graham Lee. He just looks a progressive horse. He's a strong traveller. No all-weather form, that is potential negative, but the Camacho team do very well at Newcastle. I think of all the all-weather tracks, that's the track that they've trained the most winners at. So, yeah, a little bit of a shot in the dark, but I think he's overpriced. But I'm going to start the show this week with Burras, please.
Burras then for Dec. Sam, where were you looking?
Oh, I took a bit of a different view to Dec, and I actually quite like the favourite here, an original pick. And I suppose he mentioned the gelding, and that's kind of probably where I'm pinning my hopes on that'll help him. He's obviously off a bit of a break here. He's 3 runs so far this season, though. Whilst he didn't win in any of them, I felt he wasn't disgraced in them. You know, third and fourth. I thought he's just certainly a horse that sort of captured my interest in a race like this. It is tricky towards the back end of the season, and the 2 horses I picked out for this, I suppose we say the end of the flat season, obviously we're on the synthetic surface, but both come from yards that are in good form. Charlie Appleby, I'm sure by his lofty standards, will be disappointed with the season he's had, but he arrives here with a 33% strike rate in the last couple of weeks. He certainly ended it with a bit of a bang, albeit perhaps they're a bit disappointed. They've not had so many of the older big name horses run well this year, but I think this horse can round off the season for him and give him a decent price.
Yeah, because like you say, the strike rate's been there, hasn't it, for Charlie Appleby throughout the entirety of the season, but he just hasn't had those big names and those real group winners that we tend to expect from that yard throughout the season. So Local Dynasty then for Sam. Now, I didn't really know what to do with this race because the pair of you know how I like to approach these types of races with my trends, but of course don't have that. Well, we do have it, but they're effectively defunct when we go to the all-weather at Newcastle. So I thought, why not just side with a horse with an each-way play in such a competitive contest? And they don't come much better in each-way play than One Smooth Operator. He is a horse where he just tanks through his races. He always catches your eye. And then he always just tends to find one, two, or a few too good for him. But he is an each-way price in here, which is definitely something that I want. So his 5th over the course and distance last time out, that was really likeable. He was only beaten 2.5 lengths. He's been given £1 back for that run. Sees him on a mark of 89. The same as a good run 3 starts back, when second again at Newcastle over a trip too short for him. And he's rarely raced off of a mark this low in his career. He loves this track, so I'm actually really pleased for him that it has been switched to the all-weather. So One Smooth Operator, definitely each way for me. Dex.
Can't believe she didn't even sing that, you know, that would have been a good one. Bearaz for me,
People do not
please.
want that. People do not want that. Bearaz then for Deck and Sam.
Local dynasty for me.
OK, 3 different selections then in our opening contest. Do let us know your own selections for the November handicap in the comments section below. Now, before we move on to our next race, we hope that you are enjoying the show. And if you are, do remember to subscribe to the At The Races YouTube channel and also hit the bell notification so you never miss an episode. Right, on to the next one, because again, we're at Newcastle. This is with the listed Wentworth Stakes for the 3-year-olds and over 6 furlongs at 205. We have a clear favourite in Sense of Duty at 5-2, and then we have 13-2 the field. So Sam, is that price disparity between Sense of Duty and her rivals justified, or where were you looking?
No, I'm really punchy on Sense of Duty here. I think I did back the horse at Ascot last time out and was a shade disappointed. I was at Newbury where she reappeared after that significant break, and that was a really fair reappearance in heavy ground, finishing 3rd of 5th at 5, and probably needed that run. Was I a bit disappointed at Ascot? I suppose I was, but in this kind of company, you go back to that chip chase that she ran in here over the 6 furlongs. That kind of effort really should have her bang there. You know, the team are flying at the moment. Again, I've mentioned I want to back flat yards that are flying at this time of year, and I've just got a feeling that there is still a race in her, because I don't know why you'd persist otherwise. You know, 5-2 on the basis of this will look a gift from the gods. I suppose the question mark is there, you know, is the ability still there? I think there's enough in the locker, and I think this is an easier assignment than what she had to face last time out in a big field handicap. Like I say, be curious to see how she goes, but 5-2 for me, I'm fairly confident that's a fair price. It remains to be seen if I'm right or wrong, but I'm with her.
I'm with her as well. Yeah, because we're looking back there at her course and distance win in the Group 3 chip chase, where she beat Anaf. Now, Anaf went on to win the Portland, the Group 3 Bengoff Stakes as well. So that form is solid. So I totally agree where, yes, when I initially looked at this race and I saw her price and I thought, oh, OK, in a competitive contest, is she worth taking on? I don't think she is on this drop-in grade. I think that she's more than capable of taking a listed prize, and I can forgive a run in a Group 1 last time out anyway. So, yeah, we are both with the favourite then, Deck. Are you going to join us?
No, I'm not. I wanted to take her on, although I will say that the conditions of the rates suit fillies. I think, you know, obviously they should be getting 3. I think £3 are getting 5 here, so that could be actually the difference maker here. I wanted to take her on. I think she's priced up on what she did, what we saw in that VT in the chip chase. I think on that form she's probably even overpriced, but she's clearly had her issues. I don't think she's come back in great order this season. She ran well all right at Newbury at the start of the campaign, and then, you know, she didn't run too well at Ascot. The Haggis team seemed to be hell-bent on her wanting really soft ground. I don't think that's the case. I think she'll really enjoy getting back on a kind of a slicker surface at Newcastle. That might just spark her back to life. But at the prices, you're kind of guessing on if she's the same horse. So I actually went with Brad the Brief in the end. A horse who last time out to me really looked like he was working his way back to form. He ran at Shanty. What I was really taken by in the race is how well he travelled in Olivier Pellier's hands. He just looked like he was a happy horse again, running himself into form. But as we'll see here now, for the whole last 2 or 3 furlongs, he just had no room to operate. could not let loose, could not let down properly, and I thought under the circumstances he ran very well. Drawn ideally in 7 on Saturday. I think there's pace all across the track, which will suit him, and he's got form on the all-weather as well. So I'm hoping this run suggested Brad the Brief is working his way back to form, and if that is the case, I think he's overpriced at around 13-2.
That was, just watching that back now, he never got any sort of a run,
like
did he?
if you're watching that at home, you're kicking something, are you? We don't want to say the cat because the lads from Peter might be watching, but you're kicking something.
You'll be kicking something that's nearest enough to your foot, yeah. But no, that was pretty painful watching that back. So you're with Brad the Brief. We are both with a sense of duty in the listed Wentworth Stakes. Again, do let us know your own selections in the comments section below. Now we're going jumping and we're heading over to Ireland because we have the Grade 1 Champion Chase at Down Royal for 5-year-olds and over at 2:20 over 3 miles. Now, we may only have 4 runners to go at, but we have a field of 4 stars here, Dec, headed by the returning Gerri Colombe. So who wins it for you?
Yeah, I think the market in this race will be worth watching because we've got 2 stables represented here, Gordon Elliott and Henry de Bromhead. I'm really looking forward to seeing how Gerri Colombe gets back, especially in this grade. You know, he's taken on some proper classy animals here now on having his first run of the season, so it'll be interesting to see how he goes. But I just thought in a recent kind of stable tour that Gordon Elliott, it sounded like they were working their way back from the Gold Cup, and I just wonder if he does develop into a proper horse, is this the time he's going to get beaten this season, first time out? I thought Conflated was overpriced. You know, he's the outsider of the field. I don't really get that. He ran a big race last year under Sam Ewing in the Gold Cup, and you can maybe even argue that it was a career best effort for him marginally. I thought he was very unlucky in the Gold Cup as well. He hampered multiple times, and then he also shaped better than the distance beaten. I thought the extended 3 mile 2 on the new course at Cheltenham just clearly found him wanting for stamina. You know, I think this horse has got a lot of class. He's got a lot of pace, and I'm delighted to see the ground looks to be drying out at Down Royal. Now, he was well beaten last time out behind Manila Endo, but he was a big drifter in the market that day. He had a Grade 1 penalty to carry as well, and again, I thought he shaped a hell of a lot better than the distance beaten. So, not to get this conflated with a run under his belt, it's going to be the Gordon Elliott runner for me.
You know, you talk about Gordon Elliott teeing up this season in Unstable Tours. Has he mentioned at some point, am I correct in saying about Conflated, about potentially working up to being a cross-country type?
Yes.
Does that concern you?
Yes, it would, but I think, you know, Gordon likes to take the low-hanging fruit at the Cheltenham Festival with the cross-country race. Don't we? We've seen it with a class animal like Delta work, and we've seen it with Tiger Roll as well. He's maybe just thinking long-term, but far too soon to be given up on this lad yet, especially with Leopardstown kind of on the horizon, where he usually gets that nice better ground there. But yeah, a little bit of a worry, but I think that kind of call will be made after this race, depending on what happens on Saturday. Yeah,
seeing what happens here. But you've just said yourself, though, Dec, that this might just be the time to take on Gerri Colombe. And that was my initial concern with this race. When I saw it and I thought, well, what price Gerri Colombe's going to go off at here? This will be the time to catch him, probably to be laying him then, when you've got 3 race-fit rivals up against him. And he is such a laid-back horse, isn't he, that you'd imagine that probably translates to his homework, where he may not be a horse that will be fully tuned for this. And you'd almost hope he won't be fully tuned for this because, of course, he's got so many of the top targets throughout the remainder of the season. But even despite that, I kind of went around the houses. Envoy Helen's return was very disappointing. I don't know what to expect from him. Manila Endo, he upheld his reappearance winning sequence then, and he doesn't always back up that winning return. And then Conflated, I was slightly concerned about the cross-country comments. So I'm going to be with Gerri Colombe, but Sam, could you see any other way?
No, you're spot on, Kate. Gerri's record first time out as well, perfect. 4 starts first time out, 4 wins. Last season, let's be honest, I think it's fair to say it was a tad unfortunate. He didn't end the season with a perfect record, 5 from 5. Clearly, he's a horse that's pretty tough. Gordon Elliott, the most fantastic trainer of staying chasers. You know, you look back at his record of what he achieves with them. He obviously gets a lot of great raw materials as well. And this horse, for me, listen, I don't want to start talking about Cheltenham now, but
but I have a feeling we're going.
I've already had a little bet each way on him to win the Gold Cup because I just think the price will go if he beats these race-fit rivals, which are very fair yardsticks. You know, they're not any. All three of them you can make cases for here, and I must say, I just think Down Royal, Gordon Elliott, and I do wonder if that extra week. Now, Gordon, he obviously targets the meeting, but that extra week means we're a little bit further down the cycle. I think it might mean we see him one occasion less this season because the Gold Cup's the target and in mind. And I think, if anything, it's going to actually have aided his chances of arriving here that little bit fitter, because if there was a little bit left to work on, they've had another few days, haven't they?
I do think it is a bit of it's a baptism of fire, isn't it, without the run under his belt, because what got him beat in the RSA, or the Brown Advisory, was a little bit of toe. And, you know, he's going to come up against horses here with plenty of toe. Envoy Allen has got toe on a going day. Conflated's definitely got toe on a going day as well. So, but I like Gerri Colombe. He's wonderfully straightforward. He jumps well. He does everything right. So, yeah, exciting times with the jumps back, isn't it?
Not enough to be siding with him, though.
No. Well, price is everything in betting.
Very true. Every horse has its price, and Conflated is the price that you like in this. We're both with Gerri, though. Right, that is the champion chase at Down Royal. More jumping action up in our next race, where we head to Aintree. We have just got the call that the Grand Sefton is going ahead. A handicap chase for the 6-year-olds and over 2 mile 5 at 2:45. Now, as I said beforehand, it was a bit of a tricky race to really weigh up when we weren't entirely sure if this race was going to go ahead, and of course the ground concerns throughout the week. But Sam, who got your nod in the Sefton?
Yeah, I'll be hoping Percussion can get into a good rhythm round here.
Oh, very well done. Yeah. Thank you for slowing down the rhythm so we could get that joke as well.
You know, a really interesting horse for Laura Morgan. Like I say, you go. But I always like, if I ever have to look at races over the national fences, I always like to look at horses that have been there, done it, got the T-shirt, and can go round, because I do think it's a little bit of a Marmite test. Third, obviously, in the Beecher, and third in this race last year off a slightly higher mark at a massive price. Not going to be that price today, still around sort of the 9 to 1, 10 to 1 mark. Gavin Sheen takes the ride, who's in absolutely fantastic form at the moment. Had his 700th winner in the week, and he's absolutely flying. I suppose the ground, I will flag it. I would have preferred the ground to be good to soft rather than what we're going to get. But there is a heavy run at Fontwell, and Fontwell heavy is pretty heavy over a sustained trip in his younger days. So I don't think it's going to be perfect conditions, but I do think he'll get away with it in comparison to some in here that really won't like it. And I do think that the test of those style of fences will suit him. So, yeah, that's where I came down in what I thought was quite an open affair at an each-way price.
Percussion then for Sam Deck.
Yeah, I do think the ground's going to be pretty brutal on the national track here, isn't it? It's probably one of the most overwatered tracks in the country for obvious reasons, especially come April time. Well, maybe aside from Haydock and Newmarket, but we won't go there. And they've obviously just passed an inspection, so you know, I think fitness and handling the ground are going to be key. So it's a lukewarm betting race for me, but I thought one to take a flyer on would be YCCS Portoservo for the Dr. Richard Newland team. Now, we shouldn't forget Dr. Richard Newland, 2 of his biggest career wins have come over the national fences. He obviously won this race 3 seasons ago with a horse called Bow Bay, and then he obviously won the Grand National with Pinot de Rey. I think him and his team clearly know what kind of horse takes to the test. So, and I think this lad will as well. He's a strong, travelling, forward-going grey who jumps well, and I think over this kind of track, over this trip, in this race particular, I like forward-going horses that race on the pace, because I think it's hard to make up ground from the rear, and that's exactly what this lad does. In parts last season, the Newland team weren't in great order. There clearly was an issue there. I think they might have had a virus, but they finished last season strongly, and they've started this campaign well. It's his first run in a long time, but he has handled soft ground and he does plenty right. So I thought to take one on a flyer would be this really likeable grey with Sam Twiston-Davis doing the steering.
Do you know what his name stands for? Do you know what it means?
No, I'm surprised I probably butchered it already, but go on.
No, to be fair, as my colleague Andrew Mount calls him something different every time. He's been YMCA Portocervo, he's been CSI Portocervo, he's been absolutely everything. I think it's Yacht Club Costa Samalda Portocervo, something like that. So Yacht Club's not
nice.
We would understand.
It's far from those kind of places we were reared anyway. Well, me certainly.
Definitely so. And the conditions in Aintree are going to be very different to imagine what the Yacht Club is as well. But yeah, there's a bit of background on him. I'm not with him though, and I'm not going to be siding with a name. Half shot though for me for this race. Now, I can finally put the trends to a race, because you want a horse on the recent renewals of this that has one run to their name already this season. That's what Half Shot already has here. And I think that the reason for that is just for conditioning of that one run. It helps horses to take to this sort of jumping test. Well, I mean, that's my theory behind it anyway. And he certainly has a really likeable run to his name already. He's ever so consistent. And I'm excited to see him over the big fences, because the way that he jumped last time out around a tricky jumping test as well of Kelso, he did it in really good style. So I'm excited to see what he can do over the big fences. And touch wood, you never really know, but hopefully he'll be able to take to it. And last time out, you could just see there with his head carriage, he is a slightly awkward, but last time out, he got his head in front, then he just idled when he was in front. But to be fair to him, as soon as the other horse came to him, he rallied all over again. He's been given a £1 rise, is without the £7 claimer this time around though. But hopefully Half Shot will take to this. So Half Shot for me, Sam.
Percussion, please.
And Dec.
You really want me to say the name again?
I really do.
Why,
Please.
CCS Porto Servo for me, please.
Oh, with the pronunciation and everything. There you go.
I didn't even mean that. Well, go on.
Well, it sounded the part anyway. Right, they are our selections then for the Grand Sefton. Up next, we'll be heading over to the Skypad to give you our best bets for the weekend, as well as an Ante-Post play. Now, with plenty of top-class action still to come at us in the next few weeks, we thought we'd take a look at some Ante-Post perspectives then for the remainder of 2023. So, Sam, where were you looking for your Ante-Post play?
Yeah, Kate, just really quickly, we're doing this year, but just if anyone's interested, want to make people aware, BetVictor at the moment are paying 4 places already on the Supreme, on the Ballymore and on the Albert Bartlett. So if you've got a filthy each way bet for the novice hurdles, do go and check us out.
I thought you said you weren't going to talk about Cheltenham.
I know, well, there we go, Dec.
Twice.
Right, let's talk about this year though, shall we? And my Ante-Post pick comes in the Coral Trophy. Really, really interesting race. I think it's a good renewal as well. You'll see Dec's got to play for it as well. But that's all right, Gino, for me. If Newbury can try and sort me out some slightly better ground, this horse, I think, is a really, really good play for Jamie Snowden. He's a BetVictor brand ambassador, so I'm a little bit biased. But I do think this fella going up to 3 miles is going to sort of suit him. People might point to the Aintree run and be slightly concerned. I thought that run in the Old Rome was just a case of trying to have him put spot on. Also, we had a couple of the fences come out, and he probably is the type that needs more than less of those to be seen to best effect. His form last season, he was a really busy horse as well, but he was behind the likes of Booth Hill and Stage Star. And he got the better up at Air of Thunder Rock, who obviously went on and won for Ollie Murphy recently up at Carlisle in a decent little small field race, but still a good little race to be going and winning. I thought 20 to 1 was just a shade overpriced as a bit of an each way dart. He'll definitely be a lot shorter on the day should we get some sort of good to soft ground, which hopefully we will. Long range weather forecast might as well go out the window. This show has been cursed by weather, so I'm not even going to guess, but I'll take a flyer at 20 to 1 each way.
We're due some better weather, aren't we? Surely. We have been absolutely cursed on this show with the weather watch each and every week, Deb. But Sam's gone to the Coral Gold Cup. Where were you looking?
Yeah, I'm going there as well, and let the misery continue because weather-wise, because I would like some rain for my Ante-Post pick, which is going to be Major Dundee for the Alan King yard. This was a horse, he's a really strong stayer, this guy, a likeable horse. He jumps well. Third in the Scottish Grand National as a novice. He then won the Midlands Grand National last season. And he made his comeback at Warwick on Wednesday, and kind of going into the race I was, oh, this is going to be an absolute nightmare for him. This track is going to be too sharp, the whole lot. But I was actually pleasantly surprised how well he travelled around there. This guy is a real behind the bridle kind of type character. I think he saves plenty for himself. And I just think headgear could be the absolute key to him. If we got some soft, maybe even heavy ground here at Newbury, and some cheek pieces were applied just to help him travel a little bit better, this guy stays really well. Now look, he's a hold-up horse. I think generally we've seen in the last couple of seasons, you want horses on the pace for the Coral Gold Cup at Newbury. That would be a little bit of a worry. But as long as this rain continues, I won't mind, and I think he's overpriced in a race that could cut up quite badly.
Could do. Major Dundee then for Dec. Now, all three of us are going for the Coral Gold Cup because I'm also gone for this race too. Now, mine isn't anywhere near as fancy a price as a pair of yours because I'm going with Monbeg Genius here, a horse who I sided with on last week's show at Ascot, where it was unsure whether or not that was going to be the main aim as such for him at the start of the season, because he was still well enough supported there, but it was a really messy race, as we know. He got absolutely caught up in the melee in the middle part of the race. So John Joe Jr., he pulled him out and just got him out of the fire, really, that he managed to find himself in. But I don't get the impression that that was the main aim. For all, of course, they would have clearly been delighted to have picked up a healthy prize en route to Newbury, but we all knew that Newbury was really the main aim then for him. And it goes back to his form line from last season of his third in the Ultima, where this is really going to be the acid test for him of that form line. And of course, that's it's not really an ideal prep for him at Ascot going into the Coral Gold Cup, but I just think that we'll see a different horse this time around come the 2nd of December. So we've all gone for the Coral Gold Cup, but we've gone for 3 different selections from an Ante-Post play then ahead of that big race at Newbury in a few weeks' time. But the more immediate future and our best bets for this weekend. So, Dec, would you like to lead off on this one, please?
Yes, mucho gracias. We shall move on to the best bets, and we have covered 2 of them already. I think the best bet for me this weekend is actually conflated without Gerri Colombe. I think that's a cracking bet. You know, Manila Endo's getting on now in age. Envoy Allen, we don't know what kind of Envoy will turn up. You know, this is a really class animal. Sam Ewing got on very well with him in the Gold Cup last season. If Gerri Colombe is the star that he's going to be, that as his current price for the Gold Cup suggests, you know, finishing second to him will do me perfect. And the next best we've already discussed. It comes live on Sky Sports Racing on Saturday in Burras in the November handicap even. I just think he's overpriced. I really liked what he did last time out at Leicester, beating a progressive John and Thady Gosden horse who was owned by Judmont, who had complete run of the race, but he picked him up well, was brave through a gap. I think he's overpriced on that form. The worry is he's got no all-weather form, but I'm hoping the Julie Camacho team can get him to perform on this surface, because if they do, I think the race sets up well for him. And also in the November handicap, Predin, I think, will go well in first-time cheek pieces for the George Scott team with Sean Levy riding. He's been a model of consistency all this season. He's been running very well. It's a funny race, I think, the November handicap this year. I think there's a couple to the head of the market who may not stay, and if that's the case, he's a strong stayer over that trip. I think he's a 3-time winner on the all-weather as well. So, and George Scott had a good season as well. So yeah, that's going to be the long shot for me this week.
22-1 as well then for Pridwin. Like that a lot in the November handicap for Dec. Sam, your own best bets.
Yeah, let's get stuck into what's a busy weekend's racing, Kate. My nap's going to come, and it's got to be Gerri Colombe. I really like him, think he'll go very well. Be disappointed, I think, if he doesn't get off to a winning start like he's done in previous seasons, for all it's a quality field that he takes on. Next up, maybe it's a little bit of heart-ruling head here, Kate, 'cause I think you're going to try and get me beat, but Frodon, for me, this is his cup final, isn't it? He's had a very similar prep to last year to go and win the Badger Beers. He's had an away day, Paul Nicholls said. Paul also mentioned that he wouldn't want too much rain, but he's not too worried about it. Good news is it looks like it's a drying day down at Wincanton ahead of racing tomorrow, so I'm looking forward to seeing that. Bryony obviously gets on fantastically well, won the race last year, can go well fresh, so Frodon for me, because I think that'd be the story of the weekend, if we're being honest, if he can go and win. Fingers crossed. My long shot, I struggled this week to find a long shot. I've ended up in the Rising Stars. There's only 6 runners there. I don't think it's a particularly strong renewal. We've got an odds-on favourite in there who did get beat at Chepstow, has had the benefit of a run. But Doyen Star interests me probably as a project for the future, but I just thought it was curious Evan Williams sends the horse here for his first chase start. A point-to-point winner. The ruckers buy these lovely types that do look like good chasers in the making. Around 8-1. I just thought his hurdles form from the run the last day's working out from February, and I thought it was curious placement.
Very much so, yeah, and to be taking on the short price favourite then in the Rising Stars at Wincanton. But I am going to be taking you on, though, your next best bet with my own nap in here, because my nap comes in the Badger Beer, and that is 3 under through 5. 225 at Wincanton, this Premier handicap over 3 mile 1. Now, when the market opened up with the Badger Beer, of course, it's one of the biggest races at Wincanton of the entire season, on their big day of the season on Saturday, of course. And I was surprised to see Frodon heading the way. Yes, he's the defending champion, but he's running off of the same mark here as last year as an 11-year-old rising 12. And I just think that the younger legs will get him this time. Hopefully that will be 3 under through 5, who, again, Andrew Mount getting 2 mentions, but he flagged up to me that he is very much a right-handed performer. He's unbeaten going right-handed right-handed in 4 starts. Yes, he's done most of his racing at left-handed tracks, such as the majority of British tracks, to be fair, but he jumps out then to his right. So heading to Wincanton should really see him to best effect. And he's had a wind operation since we last saw him. The vibes are really good about him as well, and this mark remains very feasible, hopefully, for him to overcome. My next best bet is a horse I mentioned previously. That is Half Shot in the Grand Sefton at Aintree, for all of the reasons I stated earlier. I want a horse that's had 1 run already this season with that bit of conditioning. That's what he's got, and I'm excited to see how he jumps around these fences as judged on his jumping at Kelso last time out. And my long shot again comes in the same race of the Grand Sefton, and that is Manila Trump, a horse who we know can jump around these fences. The last time we saw him, he finished 15th in the Grand National, where he took to the fences wonderfully, but he just didn't stay. It was as simple as that. So the drop back down in trip to 2 mile 5 should hopefully see him to a better effect, but he's just been dismissed in the market. So they are all of our best bets for the weekend. A big thank you to Dec and to Sam for all of their hard work as per usual. A big thank you to you at home for watching. Do let us know your own selections in the comments section below. Remember, you can watch all of Newcastle's action live on Sky Sports Racing. We'll be back at the same time next week to preview the November meeting at Cheltenham, as well as much more.